Before I start this video, if you've not subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, please click the like button, share this out through social media, and leave comments in the comment section. I'm going to be discussing some interesting announcements that were made by the Josh D'Amaro company this week. And we're going to get right into it with this article by CNBC, which basically reads, Disney plans layoffs of as many as 1,000 employees. Disney is planning to begin its next phase of cost cutting, which will include as many as 1,000 layoffs, according to a person familiar with the matter. Okay, first thing, initial gut reaction. There are indications of a healthy company and there are indications of an unhealthy company. One of those indications is if you're hiring or firing. If you're hiring, you're healthy. If you're firing, you're unhealthy. Guess which one Josh D'Amaro's in charge of? The cost-cutting initiative comes shortly after Josh D'Amaro took the helm as CEO in mid-March. Yeah, just basically a month. The layoffs are expected to mostly affect Disney's marketing department, according to the person who requested to speak anonymously because the moves had not yet been made public. Well, they're public now. That department was recently consolidated under Asad Ayaz, hope I said that right, who's named Chief Marketing and Brand Officer in January. Ayaz, who reports directly to Josh D'Amaro and Dana Walden, that see you next Tuesday, who did not earn it. Listen, if anybody deserves to be fired, it's Dana Walden. In my opinion, she can follow Kathleen Kennedy and hope the door doesn't hit her in the ass on the way out. All right. She's completely useless. She's run ABC into the ground. By the way, the FCC is now training its sights on The View, among other things. And I think there's going to be a lot of pain there. And it's about time. That show is just a joke. It's been violating broadcasting regulations for a number of years. And it's time it basically got shut down. But Dana Walden, Disney's president and chief creative officer, they made up that job for her after she didn't get CEO because they were afraid of the optics of actually having her walk out or outright firing her ass, which is what they should be doing. Oversees marketing for all of Disney's divisions, entertainment, experiences, and sports, in a newly created role. It's the first time Disney brought all of its units under one marketing chief. Okay, the other thing I got to say about firing all these marketing people is right now Disney has a huge problem with their marketing. So unless these people completely suck, which is entirely possible, they should be hiring marketing or at least keeping the marketers they have, because people are not going to the movies. They're definitely not going to see anything that the Josh D'Amaro company is putting out. They're not going to the parks. Plenty of people are recording that. They're reporting on that all the time. The park attendance is way down, especially in Florida, and Florida is what they depend on. So you need to regain the trust of the public. You need to regain the trust of your customers. The people that go to the parks because they're not going. The people that go to the movies because they're not going. The only movies I can think of in the last couple of years that have done well, that are strictly from the Bob Iger / Josh D'Amaro company, is Inside Out 2, by the way, a sequel. The Moana live action, a remake. And Zootopia 2, another sequel. That's it. Avatar 3, even though it didn't do very well, it did make over $1 billion. It just didn't earn any money. That is a James Cameron brand. They don't own that. Spider-Man No Way Home. I guess I'm going back to 2021 or 2023. When did that come out? I think 2023. Anyway, that was Sony. That's not them. Just because Kevin Feige gets his name on there doesn't mean it was done by Bob Iger Marvel or Josh D'Amaro Marvel. And then you had Deadpool and Wolverine. Again, not Bob Iger Marvel and not Josh D'Amaro Marvel. That's it. So there's a huge amount of distrust, well earned, might I say, by Bob Iger. And it is Bob Iger. Josh D'Amaro hasn't earned anyone's mistrust yet. He's only been on the job for a month. It's kind of hard to do that. But now he has to rebuild that trust. That's going to be one of his major jobs. And boy, I do not envy him. And maybe that's why they couldn't find anyone outside of the Bob Iger company to take over, because that would have been the optimal solution, is you get some total outsider who isn't involved in any of this shit, because they can come in and clean house and not give a flying you know what. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing, and I thought this was rather interesting. Disney parks restore gender pronoun usage following pandemic era removal. We'll get into it. It's kind of really isolated, but it does show a minor step in the right direction. And we're going to skip this part because they're talking about the monorail. Let's actually get down to the part that's important. Okay, for generations of guests, the monorail announcement script had been part of the ritual, a small but specific piece of the Magic Kingdom arrival experience that people quote from memory decades after their first visit. Among the most recognized phrases in the script was the classic "ladies and gentlemen" greeting, a standard salutation that had been part of Disney park announcements for years across multiple attractions, parades, and transportation systems. That phrasing was quietly removed around 2021 as the Walt Disney Company moved towards more exclusive guest address language across its parks. I even think that was something that came directly from Walt Disney, the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls thing. I could be wrong, but I kind of remember that was kind of his thing. Like I said, I may be wrong on that. I could be way off, but that's kind of what I remember. Now, according to a video shared by the theme park Cheetah on X, ladies and gentlemen has returned to the Magic Kingdom Express monorail, bringing back a greeting that was simply dropped rather than replaced when it disappeared years ago. So basically what they're saying is they just had dead space. They didn't even try to re-record with a different greeting in there. They just cut it out. If I'm reading this right. What was observed and what it means. Theme Park Cheetah, posting on X under the handle @GreenCheetah99, shared video footage of the updated announcement and wrote, "It is very nice to hear that ladies and gentlemen has returned to the Magic Kingdom Express monorail recently. For context, it was removed in 2021 when Disney tried to make the parks more inclusive." I'll get to that in a second. When it was removed, it was just skipped over and nothing was added in its place. All right, I'm going to see if this will play here.
This monorail will be returning to the Magic Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're standing, please hold on to the handrail and stay clear of the doors until the monorail stops completely.
All right, so you heard it right there, ladies and gentlemen. Um, as far as the inclusivity goes, yeah, that's worked out so great for them. Uh, it's the same inclusivity theory that caused the Acolyte to completely bomb, and then they had some silly petition to renew it for season 2. Please bring it back. That was signed by a whole 83,000 people. And then more recently, when Starfleet Academy was canceled, you had 41,000. So not even half the first one. But these are the same blue haired, insane people who have nothing to do but to go on social media like X and whine and cry. And I wonder if even half these people watch these damn shows. They just get on and whine and cry every time something that is inclusive gets canceled, that has their themes in it. Even though I doubt these people are actually watching it, but they just like to whine and cry. And these people also don't go to the movies, not very often. They don't support Marvel, they don't support Star Wars. So why cater to them? And even if they did, they are not significant in, or from a marketing standpoint and from a business standpoint, they do not bring in that much money. And the ones that go to the parks, I guarantee you they don't spend that much money in the parks. And that is the most important thing about amusement parks. It is not the ticket at the gate, it's how much you spend on the merchandising, food, and everything else once you are in the parks. That's what keeps the parks alive. Okay? I think Bob called that the flywheel or some shit like that. But that's the important part of the flywheel, people. It is customers going into the parks and spending money. If you just go into the park and you ride the rides, you ain't making the company, or you ain't making that park a hill of beans. All you're doing is jamming up their lines for their attractions and taking up space and air. You're not making them any money. I mean, I'm a key holder at the Disney Resort, and I go there enough times a year. They make about $40 off of me every time I walk through the gate. That's it, $40. And if I did nothing else, I'm not making them any money. Nothing, zero, zip, nada. I might as well not be there. I'm just taking up space and taking up air. But I do go spend things there. But this whole thing with changing it back while we're talking about the Disneyland Resort, it ain't coming there anytime soon. I'll promise you that, because there are more blue-haired, insane people in California than in Florida by leaps and bounds. And they will all lose their collective minds if it's suddenly changed back and they start hearing ladies and gentlemen, or worse yet, when the fireworks start, the preliminary announcements, if they go back to ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, damas y caballeros, niños y niñas, they will collectively lose their flipping minds. I mean, I'd like to see that, be quite frank about it. I'd love to see it. But it's not going to happen. I mean, they've done the same safe thing. They've done it in Florida, where you have a lot of tourists, and Florida is basically a sane state. California is an insane state. And I regret every day that I still live here. But it is what it is. And like I said, if this is a prelude of things to come, then great. If they're going to get back to actually wanting to make money and stop pandering to people that make them no money, I'm all for it. Go ahead. But Josh, you're going to have to do a Twitter extinction event. Not all at once, but you're going to have to probably kill about 70, 80% of your company and rehire with people that actually care about the company and don't care about a message or what gender they are or anything else or who they sleep with. You're going to have to hire people that actually care about what Walt Disney built, not about all this other shit. And the last thing I'd like to cover today is that there's a little movie coming out in May. And we have the first projections for The Mandalorian and Grogu. This is the way with high box office prediction. Or I'm sorry, finds the way with high box office prediction. And I'm going to show you in a moment why that is the Price is Right loser buzzer. The upcoming Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu has received a solid early box office prediction about a month before its May release. Instead of creating the fourth season of the popular The Mandalorian show on Hulu. On Hulu? On Hulu? No, it's on Disney Plus. Somebody missed that one. Lucasfilm decided to condense it into a movie that will bring the Star Wars franchise back to the silver screen after a 6-year hiatus. Wait a second, isn't it 7 years? 6.5? Wasn't it December 2019 for The Rise of Palpatine? Is my math off? So that'd be like 6.5 years since this is May, the end of May of 2026. Isn't that 6.5 years? Closer to 7? I guess we can excuse that. Pedro Pascal returns as Din Djarin or Mando alongside the still silent Grogu, aka Baby Yoda, in a new adventure that sees the pair fighting the good fight for the New Republic and joining forces with other characters from the franchise. Jon Favreau, the creator of the critically acclaimed streaming series, not anymore. Believe me, it's not critically acclaimed anymore. That third season completely sucked ass. Is the director for the project as well as one of the of its writers. The Mandalorian and Grogu is slated to arrive on May 22nd, 2026. I believe that's the Wednesday before Memorial Day weekend. And ironically, I believe that's the same time as a movie we're going to talk about at the same time of the year that a movie I'm about to talk about, because that's what we're going to compare this opening to. The early box office projection for the Mandalorian movie starts strong. As of April 10th, The Mandalorian and Grogu is expected to earn around $71 million in its domestic opening weekend, as it hopes to become one of the top blockbusters heading into the summer. Oh dear me. Let's go take a look at another box office, shall we? Solo, a Star Wars story. 2018. Open May 23rd, 2018. So I was right. Same thing. Memorial Day weekend. Domestic opening. 84,420,489. And here's where we really highlight. It didn't even make 400 million worldwide. I don't know why I can't highlight it, but screw it. 392, 924, 807. 393 million if you want to round it up. By the way, on a $275 million budget, and then let's throw in another 100 to 150 for marketing. Let's just be nice and throw in a 150 or 100 million for marketing. So let's call it 375, and then you double that and it's 750. So this thing lost about, well, close to $200 million. So hashtag Solo lost money. Yes, it's still a thing. And just remember that 84 million domestic opening. Mandalorian Grogu is projected to open at 71 million. Remember, this is the least grossing Star Wars movie ever to date. And the Mandalorian and Grogu is 13 million behind its domestic opening. And believe me, I think that number is going to go down. I think you're going to see a number that domestically, when it gets really close to release, that's going to be more like in the 60s, because nobody has any flipping interest in this movie whatsoever. I'm serious. 71, I predict that thing's going to be in the 60s. I don't think it'll make 100 million in its opening weekend. I mean, with the extended, probably, but the normal 3-day, which is what that 84 million was, because over the 5-day, I think they made like 105 million, something like that, domestically. I think that was their take. This thing ain't going to make 100 million domestically in its whole weekend. And I don't know what it's going to do, but I doubt it's going to do great internationally. I will be shocked if this thing's total opening is more than 120 million. I think this thing's going to run out of gas at about 350 million. It's going to be a disaster for Lucasfilm. It's going to be that kick in the ass that Kathleen Kennedy has so longly deserved. And I think it's going to shutter Lucasfilms. I mean, yes, they have Starfighter with Ryan Gosling. Yes, that's coming out. At best, that's a one-off. It's a one-off. Nobody, if people go to see that movie, if they actually go out and they see that movie, they're only going to see it for him. And because it's not really connected to anything else, it's kind of a standalone thing. Those are the only reasons. It'll be some curiosity. And if they do a good job marketing it, which brings me back to my original point about why are you firing 1,000 people in marketing? You need all the marketing you can get right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't do good numbers, just because Star Wars is a dead franchise and all they're doing right now is violating the corpse. But as soon as Starfighter is over, and I don't think it really matters what it does, unless it does something like $2 billion, unless it just completely flies off the handle, that's it for Lucasfilm. I think they're done. I think Dave Filoni is going to be the head of a dead studio. And that's the way it should be. It should die. Let it die. And with that, I believe I'm going to wrap up this video. So like my father told me when I was 18 years old, the free video is over. Get out.